let's go ahead and start the fourth chapter in the fourth unit. We're almost there. There's 6 chapters in this unit. And here we're going to start on credit cards. So you should have familiarized yourself with the vocabulary. We'll use a lot of that, and it's going to be needed as we're going through to answer these questions today. And the first example says that Frank lost his credit card in a local mall. He notified his creditor before the card was issued, before the card was used. Later, however, someone found the card and they charged $700 worth of hockey equipment on it. How much is Frank responsible for? Well, in order to answer this, we're going to have to go back a little bit to our different acts that we went over in our vocabulary. And if you look at the first one here, it's called the Truth in Lending Act. And it states that if your card is lost or stolen, you need to notify the creditor immediately. If you do that, then you are actually not responsible for any of the charges that occur after you notify them. But you, however, may be partially responsible for charges that were made before you reported it. But as long as you report it, you are only responsible for up to a maximum of $50. So if you report it right away, it hasn't been used, you're looking at 0. If it was used, you're looking at up to a maximum of $50. So it says he lost it, and he notified them before the credit card was used. And therefore, even though $700 was charged on his account, Frank is responsible for none of it because he reported it before the charges were made. Please press pause. Go ahead and solve this. When you're ready, we'll go ahead and move on. Okay, let's see how you did. It says Carrie's credit card was stolen. She didn't realize it for days. So that's kind of unfortunate. Didn't realize it for days, at which point she notified the creditor. During that time, someone charged $2,000 worth of stuff on her credit card. Now the bad news is Carrie is responsible for some of this, but as we just reviewed in the Truth in Lending Act, the maximum amount that someone is responsible for on a stolen or lost credit card is $50. So that's how much Carrie will pay on this one. Okay, example 2. Credit card companies issue a monthly statement. Therefore, the annual percentage rate must be converted to a monthly percentage rate. So we're going to take a year to a month. The annual percentage rate is 21.6, and it's asking what the monthly interest rate is. So it's very simple. I'm going to take the 21.6, which is the annual interest rate, and ask myself how many months are in a year. I know there are 12. So to get a 1 month annual percentage rate, I divide it, and the monthly interest rate is 1.8%. Please press pause, think about this for a moment, and when you come back, we'll answer it. All right, it says if a monthly statement shows a monthly interest rate of X percent, express the APR or annual percentage rate algebraically. So we're kind of doing the opposite of what we did in the first question. Instead of taking a year and breaking it down to a month, we're taking a month and we're pulling it out to a year. So when I'm going large to small, I divide. Here I'm going small to large, so I multiply. And the total is 12x. All right, Rebecca did not pay last month's credit card bill in full. And below is a list of monthly credit cards that daily balances for her last billing cycle. Find her average daily balance. Now, in order to find her average daily balance, we hear that word again, average, and we're talking about the mean. So in order to find the mean, we need to find the balance of every single day, add them together, and then divide by the number of days. Now, for some of you, it's going to get a little confusing, so follow really close. The first one it says is for 7 days, the balance was $456.11. So we need to multiply that value by 7, and we get $3,100 $92.77. Says for 3 days, it was $1177.60. So when I multiply that together, I get $3532.80. For 6 days, it was at $990.08. When I multiply that out, I get $5940.48. For 9 days, it was at a balance of $2115.15. So that comes out to $19,036.35. And then for 5 days, it was at $2309.13. So when I multiply that out, I get $11,545.65. So this is going to account for every day in this cycle. Now I need to add all of them together. So when I plug all those into a calculator and add them together, we get a total of $43,248.05. Now, going back to, remember, we're finding the average or the mean. So once we've added all the values together, we're going to take that and we're going to divide it by the number of days. Now, some of you are going to count and say, oh, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. But that would be wrong. That's not the case. There are 7 days plus 3 days, which is 10 days, plus 6, which is 16 days, plus 9, which is 25 days, plus 5 more, which is a total of 30 days. So when I divide this by 30, I find that her average daily balance was $1441.60, and that's what we're going to use to find her actual finance charge for the month. Please press pause, take a look at this. When you get back, we'll go ahead and work through it. Okay, it says last month Paul had a daily balance of X dollars for 6 days. So it's 6 times that balance of X. Y dollar for 12 days, so for 12 days it was Y. W dollars for Q days, so W for Q days, and D for 2 days. So then once I get that, I can multiply, or I'm going to add all of the days together. Well, it's 6 days plus 12 days, which is 18 days. We're going to come back to the Q days here for a second, and then for another 2 days. So we've got a total of 20 days plus whatever Q is. And there is our equation. And that's as far as we can break it down with the information we have. All right, last example here for this chapter. Rebecca from example 3 pays a finance charge on her average daily balance of $1441.60, and that's the value that we found in the last question. The APR is 18%. What is her finance charge? So the first step is you need to find the monthly periodic rate. And if you'll remember from a previous example, we took the annual percentage rate and we divided it by 12 because there are 12 months in a year, which means that the monthly percentage rate is at 1.5%. We know that our average daily balance was $1441.60, so we're going to multiply that 1.5%. And remember, it's going to be as a decimal, so I need to move that over twice, and I get 0.015. When I multiply that out, I get $21.62. That is the amount that Rebecca is going to pay in finance charge for that particular month. All right, press pause, go ahead and finish this, and when you come back, we'll go ahead and finish this lesson up. All right, let's see how you did. It says Steve owes a finance charge because he didn't pay his balance in full. His average daily balance was D, and his APR was P%. Express the finance charge algebraically. So the first thing I need to do is take that percentage and divide it by 100 to turn it into a decimal. I'm going to multiply that by that average dollar amount. And then the whole thing, the first thing I need to do is after that I divide by 12. And then let me kind of rewrite this. So I got the percentage converted to a decimal, divided by 12 to get the annual percentage to monthly. And then I multiply that whole thing by the average daily balance. Good job, everyone.